And again, welcome to you all. Let's bring out, with further ado, bring on my friend Sherry Danzig. Hey, Sherry, welcome to the show. I understand you're in the Carolinas right now, huh?
I am. I'm enjoying. I'm about 300 feet from the beach right now.
Oh, I didn't need to hear that. Okay. Anyway,
Sorry.
well, you're 300 feet. You're 300 feet from the beach in water. That's salt water. I want to talk a little water today, Sherry. You and I have met each other over the last year, and you had shown me what I consider a better way to actually filter and both alkalize my water, and it's been a constant struggle. I have done years of research on water. I have lectured on water. I have said how important it is to keep hydrated, back from my football playing days. Let's talk a little bit about you. Give us a little bit about your background, Sherry, what brought you into the health field, and really where your passion for water began. How did you get exposed to this in the first place? And then we'll talk a little specifics.
Absolutely. I went to massage training school back in 1989. So it really started for me a journey of wellness and wellness education. So I learned in massage school, you're learning about muscle physiology. And I learned how important it was to drink water just to simply flush the body out. When someone gets a massage or any kind of treatment or moves their body and increases the metabolism in the body, it's an opportunity to flush the body out. So we learned that in massage school, but honestly, I didn't know anything about, quality of water. I just knew it was important to hydrate. So back in that day, I was drinking tap water. Didn't like the taste of it. So, everybody that I knew drank cold water because it didn't taste good at room temperature. But then probably about 15, 16 years ago, started really studying water because of an association I have and had back then with a company that is a wellness research company and a development of wellness technologies. And so from that point forward, I started looking at water differently and understanding that, as you just said, you've been researching water, that all water is not alike. But so that's really where it started, and just started understanding about, the impact that different water has. And, in my current role, and I've been in this role for now 18 years, I really see myself as an educator. As a massage therapist, you're always educating people about their body and how they can take on different kinds of self-care. And, I have found throughout this journey that being well hydrated is so important. In fact, almost just about anything that we experience as far as discomfort, if you just drink more water, you're going to feel better, So that's kind of a bottom line. And so with that said, if you can drink the very best water, you're going to be that better off. You're supporting your body's need for water that much better. We're at least 70% water in our body, so it kind of makes sense that the quality of water, we put in it is important. If most of our content is water.
I just walked over.
For me.
Yeah, I just walked over to Publix, the grocery store here right next to us, and picked up some lunch. And I was walking out, and I noticed in line when you first get in the store, there's this massive pile of bottled water. And I've seen the price of bottled water continually going down, which is amazing to me. It's now like less than $3 a case. And I see a lot of people buy this, and they said, well, this is obviously better than tap water. We're going to buy these bottles and we're going to drink it. Talk to me for just a minute, Sherry, about, and this is an intriguing point that you made when we had an open house here at our office here at the nutrition shop. You brought in numerous bottles of water and you laid them out, and then you brought in some filtered water that was treated in a way to bring the pH of the water up to what should be physiological, up into the 8s. Talk to us a little bit about bottled water. Talk to us about the pH of water and why that's so important.
Absolutely. It's a real, to me, it's an irony that people just assume if it's in the bottle, it's better. It's really a convenience thing. But boy, the water industry has run with that. So what I've done is, wanting to educate people is to bring in lots of different types of water and to test it. And for those of you listening, it's a very simple thing to test water. Specifically, if you can't test for everything, but if you test, you can certainly test for pH, and we'll talk about the importance of that. But anywhere where they sell swimming pool testing drops, so that you can test for chlorine and you can test for the pH of the water. Most water that I test is acidic. It's almost always in a bottle that has the chemicals in it. So unless the bottle says it's BPA free, it's not. And some bottled water will claim that it's pH balanced. I always test it. I don't necessarily believe it. Sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. The truth is that bottled water is a unregulated industry. And so when there have been different tests that have been published, and there have been big studies with bottled water, and what they found is that 1/4 of all the bottled water that they tested was simply tap water. It was just, wasn't spring. It wasn't, picked up in the rolling hills of Colorado or whatever they say, So it's 1/4 of it right from the bat is not even what they say it is. It's tap water. And 1/3 of it, this is concerning, 1/3 of the bottled water was tested had contaminants from somewhere in the bottling, bottle process. So it's tainted at least 1/3 of the time. And then if it's not BPA free, then all bottles, when it sits in the plastics and between the process from it going into the bottle until you drink it, the bottle has been heated. It's been in a climate that's not that's affecting it, and so you're getting the leached chemicals from that, which there's a lot of research we could go on and on about the BPA. So, is bottled water really better? Is it really safer? That's questionable. It's certainly more expensive. Even though you're seeing it being, very inexpensive, it's still, when you look at it, how much it is a gallon, it's several dollars a gallon. I've seen it be, priced it out to $5-6 a gallon. And no question that it's terrible for the environment. Those bottles sit in landfills for 500 years or more. So there's a lot of reasons not to be buying bottled water. So that was the first point I wanted to answer. And, people say, is tap water, better than bottled water, or the reverse? Tap water is not so great either. Tap water has, all of it has to be, chlorinated. It's a known and necessary evil, is how I refer to it. I mean, you've got to put chlorine. You've got to have something in there that's going to kill out the bacteria that are in our water. But the chlorine itself then becomes a carcinogen. So, and tap water has trace pharmaceuticals in it, and things like lead in it. So there's a lot of reasons not to drink tap water either. So the answer is, certainly from my research, is to have a filtration system that is taking out all these things that we don't want in our water, and restores the water to what our body really needs. It's bioavailable. It's what is perfect for the physiology, the health of our body. So part of that is, it's not only about the pH, but that's certainly a big part of it. So, I can certainly address what I know about drinking water that is pH corrected. I mean, basically, our diets for most people are running on the acidic level. Most of what we eat, unless you're eating a macrobiotic diet, you're eating a diet that is more acidic, and the body wants to be balanced. The body wants to get to homeostasis, and it's going to work to get there. So by drinking water that is slightly alkaline or slightly pH, balanced, it's going to help to offset our acidic diets, which come not just from what we eat, also what we drink. Any kind of caffeinated drink or sodas are certainly really acidic. In fact, if you drink one soda, it takes probably a couple of gallons of water. I don't know the exact measurement, but it's quite a bit of water to just offset the acidity from just 1 16-ounce soda.
Mm-hmm.
So that's important. The other aspect of pH and acidity is that not just our diets, but it's also our stress. I mean, anytime we experience stress, those chemicals are hanging around in our body for hours after we got stressed to begin with, long after we've forgotten what stressed us out. So we're battling that all the time. And so just a very simple way to offset the acidity and just help our body to find that range that is a support system for better health is by drinking water that is pH balanced.
And I have to agree. When you look at everything that I do with my training back in the field of oncology and working with cancer patients, one of the first steps that we do is we end up alkalizing that person, because it is known that if you can keep your systemic pH, and again, folks, we're talking about consuming water, which again, as Sherry said, our bodies are 70% there. And that water that we consume helps to mobilize our blood system, where our white blood cells and red blood cells mobilize and take nutrients back and forth to the brain. Our biggest reservoir of water in our bodies is our brain. When we start getting to the point where we're thirsty, we've already depleted the greatest majority of water from our brain, and we can cause actual damage. Now, being pH neutral, which says by doing various testings of urine, etc., you can figure out where your body is. But we're talking about on the positive side, what we put into our bodies. And as Sherry said, the majority of our diets, even the healthiest of foods, even those that get organic chicken breasts and grill them on the grill, it's still anything that's flesh, anything that's meat is still acid forming. So unless you're on a strict vegan diet, staying mostly on the vegetarian side, most of the foods that we consume are acid forming. So, Sherry, one of the big misnomers that I've seen is that people will say, okay, I buy the fact that tap water is horrible. So I go out and I buy a reverse osmosis thing. I throw it underneath my sink, and that took care of the problem, right? Well, yes, to an extent. We did filter the water, but it does nothing. These RO systems do nothing to balance pH of the system. So talk to us about filtration devices, and I want to highlight the unit that you have here in my nutrition shop now. Tell us about how that works and how that works to get the pH of the water where it needs to be.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, that comes up as a question. It's like, okay, you get to the point where you say, okay, I need a filter, but then what filter? And so when people come to me and they say, okay, I found this particular filter, whatever it is, some brand name, I always either ask that person to go to the website. I always go to the website and look to see if it has any kind of independent testing. So that's just a sidebar thing, because if there's filtration systems out there that they all, have a website, if they don't have a, they're not listing that they have the NSF or WQA certification on their site, then they don't have it. And so, unfortunately, it's suspect because people can make claims and, they're not substantiated. So that's one thing to look at. But, RO water or reverse osmosis water is a process that does a heck of a good job of filtering. However, here's the negative side, is that a really good filter does not know to leave the good elements of water, what our body needs, again, to be bioavailable. So it just takes out, a good filter, like an RO filter, takes out everything. And so in doing so, it's a process of kind of stripping the water down, and you're left with very acidic water. RO water is generally in the 6s when I test it. It's not even neutral. So it's devoid of all the minerals. It's what we call dead water. And the way I compare it, because we're not so familiar with thinking about water and different aspects of water, we understand with food that there's a difference between processed food and raw food, or a salad and getting organic greens. We get that there's a difference in quality, but it's the same exists in water as well. So the filtration part of it is part of it. You want to purify water, yes, but you also want water that is bioavailable. And so the filtering system that I use and that you've got in your shop is a system that not only does it filter the water, so it's an excellent filter that filters down to it's in most cases 99.8% of all the contaminants that we don't want in our water. And, of course, it's independently tested. I mean, you can go on the site, or I can send anyone that's interested the specs that are independent certified for what it takes out. But it's also about what you add back to the water, and it's restoring water in nature. So in comparison, that's the thing with RO water, is that I've had people that have an RO system installed, and then they get my system so that then they're restoring all of the really good, elements back to the water. So it's got minerals that are added back to the water. It's pH corrected, so it's the pH is between 8.5 and 9.5, which is considered the sweet spot of where you want your water to be, so that you're really doing a great job of offsetting the acidity of our diet. It's also ionized, and when you ionize water, it's like the reason you would drink or eat food that has the whole aspects of affecting free radicals. I mean, you're literally addressing that aspect by having an ionization of the water. So the system does that, and then another aspect is it microclusters the water, and that makes the water smaller clusters so that it hydrates better. It's actually wetter water, if you can hold on to that concept. But I mean, the way that people can really compare that, Len, is if you've ever drank a lot of water, because, a day like today where maybe you're working out in the yard and then you're really thirsty, and maybe you go and drink a couple of full glasses back to back, you can often feel full, like the water is kind of sloshing around in your stomach. I've actually made myself feel nauseous. I've drank, so much water years ago when I was a runner. I would just make myself feel bad because I drank so much water. But that should not happen if the water is hydrating properly. So we shouldn't feel it, moving around in our tummies. By the water being microclustered, it actually breaks the water molecules down so that it permeates the water. And that's one of the demos I like to do when, I'm doing a water demonstration. So when you look at, what else do we have to compare to in terms of filtration, probably the most common one is a Brita system. And if you look at, again, go to the website, because they'll tell you a lot about their product on the website. It'll say in small print for Brita, it's not intended to purify water. The only intention of a Brita filter is to take the bad chlorine, taste out. Same thing with the Pure system or what's in the refrigerator. They're simple carbon systems. They don't take out all the chlorine. They're better than nothing, no doubt about that. And then there's some more sophisticated systems that, do some, maybe alkaline the water even more so. I've not found a system that does all that ours does and costs so little, because there are systems out there that you can spend, $4,000 to $5,000, and then the every time you change the filter out, it's hundreds of dollars. Our system costs $249 as an investment, and then it's so inexpensive to maintain. It's like 16 cents a gallon. So it's affordable for any household to have water that has been restored to the best in nature. That's what we love about our water.
And that's excellent. Sherry, we're down to about 3 minutes. And how about giving a website where people could go, your website, so that they could look at some of these things that we're talking about? And then I'll use our toll-free number again. If anybody wants to get a hold of Sherry, call our toll-free line, 866-461-4536, and we'll put you immediately into touch with Sherry. So how about a website, Sherry?
Absolutely. My whole thing is about empowering people to take care of their health. So my website is, of course, www.empowertheworldwithwellness.com. And I love educating people. I'll send you information. We'll test your water if you want to drop off your water in Lynn's shop. Put your name and phone number on the water. I'll test it for you. We'll have a conversation about it. I like loaning systems out. So, if you're interested, if water's important to you, definitely reach out, and we'll have a conversation and get you some more information about this.
And water should be important. It should be on the top of your list, folks, especially you have children or just yourself. It could be the most important step that you take toward enhancing your body's ability to heal itself. As I said, I do it with people that are seriously ill, fighting cancers, etc. If you have chronic allergies, if you have chronic problems, a good place to start is hydrating with the right source of water. Sherry, give me that website one more time.
Empower, EMPOWER, theworldwithwellness.com.
Excellent. Sherry, thank you so much. We'll do this again. And you have a great day. And say hello to the ocean for me, will you, please?
I'll do it. Thanks for the opportunity to be on the call. Take care.
Take care now. Bye-bye. And again, that's Sherry Danzig. The number to reach us off air, 866-461-4536. Tomorrow on the show, do we need to spend more money on food to eat healthy? We're going to discuss that tomorrow because that's been a big misnomer. A lot of people have said it costs too much to eat healthy. Well, we'll get into that and a lot more in tomorrow's show. Call and set up your time now. Talk to our staff, 866-461-4536, or reach out to us through our website, The Nutrition Shop, TheNutritionShop.net. We'll see you back here tomorrow, folks. Have a great, healthy day. God bless.
Now that you received your daily dose, remember you can go back and listen to this information again at blogtalkradio.com or at our website, TheNutritionShop.net.